Okay, thank you all for helping me today. What we're going to do is we're going to just talk about challenging behaviour, particularly in the younger learner classroom. So my first question really is, what sorts of challenging behaviour have you encountered? So Phil, can you give us a couple of examples?
Yes, the students that we've had are falling asleep during the course of the day, quite early on in the day as well.
That's quite worrying then.
Yes, yeah. Well, we didn't know that they're two brothers actually, and they were in independent classes, and both students were coming back with the same problem.
Did you discover what the cause was?
Well, we had over a period of time. We did. It turned out that their family owned a kebab shop,
Okay.
and they were working for mum and dad, helping them out in the evenings, and actually cleaning the place down at 2 o'clock in the morning. So we had to bring parents in to have a chat with them, and basically come to an agreement not to let them clean the kebab shop down during the course of their college days. So.
Anyone else have similar problems with students falling asleep in class or appearing very tired? Or
I think they appear very tired just before lunch, when their sugar levels have probably dropped a bit, and that's not a good time to teach. It's best that they've had something to eat and drink.
Yes.
Otherwise, that
almost Maslow, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about if you flip that? Anyone had an opposite problem? Maybe too active. Yeah.
Well, I teach pastry, so a lot of our work is sugar related. So just before lunch, their sugar levels are up here. Then they go for lunch, and straight afterwards, when you think it would have dropped, they're either lethargic, if it has dropped, or they're even higher than before they went. And it took quite some time to work out why. And it's because the students are now in an adult environment where they can buy junk food, energy drinks and the likes, and they were topping up at lunchtime with all these energy drinks, and caffeines and sugar levels were sky high. So we had to ban the sale of that, and the only way we could do that was to put them back in school uniform so they could be identified by the sales assistants. So anyone in uniform, school uniform, couldn't buy them.
So that helped.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other issues with hyperactivity? Students running around the room? Have you had any students who can't sit still?
Oh, we had them. Yeah. Again. We had them running around the room or moving. Just whilst your back was turned, you'll turn around and they weren't in the same seats. So basically, I put their names up on the board, and every time they moved or they did something, I just did a little tick next to their name and didn't give them a reason for it. And after a little while, they thought maybe they'd just stop. Didn't know what they were going into. Bit of
I guess for you it's a health and safety issue as well. If they're
well, it's health and safety, yes, because
it's
in workshops and that sort of thing, it can be dangerous. Yes,
Okay, apart from those sort of issues, anything else? Michaela, what kind of issues have you had?
Within my English and literacy lesson, I've encountered students who use inappropriate language, which could be, very, very offensive to other people and other students. And for me, I would think a way of trying to use a good strategy is to reinforce some ground rules in order for them to try and, respect their peers, people from other religions, other cultures and backgrounds. Because of the language that they use is totally inappropriate. So I would try and suggest to reinforce some ground rules.
Yes, so you set the ground rules right at the beginning.
Yeah,
and they
put posters
good
in the classroom, stick them up on the wall so they can see them as they come in, and maybe once they come into the classroom, we can try and ask the students, give me one of the ground rules that we've reinstated into the classroom, and they'll be able to tell you some of the ground rules, so they just remember throughout the lesson, throughout the day. Try to be more mindful of what they say sometimes.
How about you? What sort of problems have you had recently?
I've got a very sarcastic student who's, well, he knows he's being sarcastic, and he makes sure the rest of the class knows about it.
Okay. Why do you think he's doing that?
I think possibly he's not being challenged enough, because actually when I've seen some of his work and said, this is actually very good, he says, really? Is it? And I said, yes, it is. So I'm going to try and focus on that, on the positives,
Okay.
and boost his self-confidence.
Right, so you
a
think he
bit.
has some self-esteem
Yeah, I
issues?
do.
Okay,
I do.
so boost his confidence. Can anyone think of
Yes.
anything else to do with the student who is sarcastic? Obviously the positive. You could have a little chat with him, I suppose.
Yes.
Adult to adult.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
talking in transaction analysis.
Yes, yeah, I think that would be a good idea as well.
Okay, any other problems? Sandy, you talked about activity. Because I know you have a lot of high school link students.
Well, we have students come in from a day lease and over a period of maybe a year, 2 years, depending on what qualifications they're working towards. And when they first come in, we noticed that we had 2 schools, split them into 2 different classes. So one school and another school. And the behaviour was dreadful because they just moved environment. There was still a class, there was still, they had their own identity as opposed to individuality. And peer pressure made them misbehave. So after a period of time, we just sat back and reflected on what was going on in both classes. So we decided to split the class, and we'd have half of one school in this one and the other half, and retrospectively. And then when it came to doing pair work, we split them into 2 groups.
Okay.
So you've got one school working together. They lost their group identity and had to find their own self-identity. It made a big, big difference.
That's interesting. I mean, I suppose you could translate that into an ordinary classroom in a way. So if you had a group that was quite strong and
even if you've got a group of boys and you've got a group of girls that aren't used to working together, it's still a bit silly stage. Put them together, working as adults, and it works wonders.
Okay. Have there any other sort of problems? Have you had any other issues in the classroom? The tiredness, the moving around. What about phones?
Oh, the phones.
Phones.
Yes.
What about phones?
Dreaded phones. Yes, they're always fiddling with the phones, which I suppose is what happens these days with the students. But it is very what's the word?
Annoying.
Well, it's annoying, yeah. But they're obviously not listening to you whilst they've got the phone in their hand. Distraction. That's it. So again, I've used the ticking succession on the board with their names. They do stop using the phone after a while. They realise again that they shouldn't be using it, and it goes away in their pockets. But it can be very annoying and very
But obviously there's a positive aspect to phones, and it can be used very positively.
Yeah, we can
Technology can
a lot
be
these
used
days
to
they
take
use it
pictures.
for the internet and finding out information.
Yeah.
That's fine. But
What else? I mean, anyone else had this sort of negative experience?
I think I actually encountered a student who was quite disruptive, and I believe he's quite disruptive because he finds some of the work quite challenging.
Right.
So what we've tended to do is arrange like one-to-one tutorials, which helps him to develop certain. Well, we've come across certain strategies to help him to develop on his work within the tutorials. So that kind of helps him as well to calm down and settle down and not be as disruptive as he is within the classroom. So I find that works, tutorials.
Yeah. Okay. Any other issues? I don't student who's sarcastic. Anyone else?
I've got a class at the moment where I've got some students that have been moved from a higher level down to a low level class, which a couple of them are just not happy about that at all, which I can sort of understand. It's sort of not their self-esteem a bit. So I'm trying to think of ways in which to actually focus on the positives that they've got and point out that, in fact, so they've missed some of the basics, which and they're not going to be able to build on those. They need the basics to be able to build and further progress. So I'm sort of focusing on the fact that, yes, there's a lot of positives, but let's fill in the gaps so they can progress more quickly.
Any other issues? Any other suggestions about what we can do with the phones?
Phones is a big issue.
Oh, no.
I think it does. If it continually happens in the class, then I've actually said, can you come put your phone on the desk, on my desk?
And will they do that?
And yeah.
Oh, they'll do that.
Well, I stand my ground and I just don't carry on until they've done it.
Right, so it's almost a broken record, you keep repeating.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good strategy.
You could also use the strategy you have with the fact is that you can reinforce the ground rules again, and the ground rules do state you can't play with your phones, you can't watch in class.
Okay.
If somebody's got a a reason for watching the phone on, then they can always come and speak to us also.
Yes, okay. Okay, that's lovely. Thank you very much indeed. That's really helpful. Thank you.